All right, what's up, everybody? Let's dive right in. It's March 2nd for another episode of Stand Tall. We've just made it into Chapter 8 of The Art of War, which stands for Variation in Tactics in one of the main ones. We have an alternate translation that we'll head over to here in a second. Verse 1, Sun Tzu said, "In war, the general receives his commands from the sovereign, collects his army, and concentrates his forces." It's a good strong way to start out. You receive your commands from the sovereign. So the sovereign is you, your emotions, your controlling of your emotions, your logical mind. So adaptations is the title of the chapter in the alternate translations, as opposed to variation in tactics. And they go ahead and dive in and start out with the first two verses grouped together. When in difficult country, verse 2, do not encamp. In country where high roads intersect, join hands with your allies. Do not linger in dangerously isolated positions. In hemmed-in situations, you must resort to stratagem. In desperate positions, you must fight. So, now we're going to go over to an alternate translation. Adaptations. Zhang Yu reflects before Sun Tzu starts out that adaptation means not clinging to fixed methods, but changing appropriately according to events, acting as is suitable. Master Sun says, the general rule for military operations is that the military leadership receives the order from the civilian leadership to gather armies. I think that's important. That is a pretty nice delineation that they make in this one versus the other one, is that it is the civilian leadership, right? It is the people that are electing these people to represent their interests, and with that interest being represented in politics, thusly the military as well. And we have strayed really, really far from that, I think, here in this constitutional republic that is the United States as of me making this video in 2024. I hope maybe that things come around again, but as it stands now. Let there be no encampment on difficult terrain. Let diplomatic relations be established at borders. Do not stay in barren or isolated territory. When on surrounded ground, plot. When on deadly ground, fight. GLN says, being on surrounded ground means there is steep terrain on all sides, with you in the middle, so that the army can come and go freely, but you have a hard time getting out and back. When you are on ground like this, you should set up special plans ahead of time to prevent the enemy from bothering you, thus balancing out the disadvantage of the ground. And Li Kuan says, place an army in a deadly situation and the soldiers will make it their own fight. All right. So, with adaptation, variability, maneuverability, variation in tactics, right? With that in mind, let's go over to verse 2, March 2nd, out of the Daily Stoic, which is by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. March 2nd, accurate self-assessment. Above all, it is necessary for a person to have a true self-estimate, for we commonly think we can do more than we really can. Seneca, on Tranquility of Mind, 5.2. Right out of the gate, the first thing I think of about that is when I was finally able to accept that I am not as smart as I think I am. And that's okay. Because once I accepted that, the pressure was lifted. I had all of this pressure on myself to perform, and I wasn't, and I just couldn't keep up. But then as soon as I accepted it, it's like, that's okay. There are other people who want to put all that pressure on them to be the best and to make it out there like that. My dog's getting into the cookies again. So, most people resist the idea of a true self-estimate, probably because they fear it might mean downgrading some of their beliefs about who they are and what they're capable of. As Goethe's maxim goes, it is a great failing to see yourself as more than you are. How could you really be considered self-aware if you refuse to consider your weaknesses? Don't fear self-assessment because you're worried you might have to admit some things about yourself. The second half of Goethe's maxim is important too. He states that it is equally damaging to value yourself at less than your true worth. Is it not equally common to be surprised at how well we're able to handle a previously feared scenario? The way that we're able to put aside the grief for a loved one and care for others, though we always thought we'd be wrecked if something were to happen to our parents or a sibling. the way we're able to rise to the occasion in a stressful situation or a life-changing opportunity. We underestimate our capabilities just as much dangerously as we overestimate other abilities. Cultivate the ability to judge yourself accurately and honestly. Look inward to discern what you're capable of and what it will take to unlock that potential. So I think this is amazing how it goes hand in hand with adaptability, with variation in tactics, right? Knowing that no matter how much you plot, no matter how many days you take planning and considering and trying to figure out the enemy and studying and all of that, that at the end of the day, as soon as you go to battle, you're gonna have to improvise. To quote the Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth, and that's kind of what this is. It's like the pain of getting hit in the mouth is gonna be so much worse if you think that you're capable of so much more than you actually are, because not only are you gonna have the pain of failure, you're gonna have the pain of having lied to yourself. So let's take these lessons from Sun Tzu and the Daily Stoic and apply them and let ourselves off the hook, and just know that we might be overestimating our capabilities. And if we overestimate our capabilities and we're not honest with ourselves about what we're able to do, we're gonna succumb to the enemy, because we're not truly assessing the battlefield, and we're not gonna be able to make those adaptations when it really comes time to.